Welcome to the second episode on this series on the placebo effect. In the first part, we learned that how an inert or inactive substance, a drug, a capsule or a cream, that is the placebo, can cure the disease ranging from cancer to Parkinson's, from asthma to depression, and even alter the effect of the active drug's response. We even encounter with the cases where shams or fake surgery can make the patients get rid of their wheelchair. The cases baffled the doctors and scientists for decades. But now they start to discover the mechanisms by which our belief system can actually change the body physiology. In this episode, we will take the physical pain sensation as our model and try to decipher the social, psychological or neurological factors that can eliminate pain or even create them. Let us look into a question that do you think that saline injection can also act as a painkiller? During World War II, wounded soldiers who even have their limbs amputated or have to undergo in-camp surgery was treated with the most potent painkiller, morphine. The army doctor, Dr. Beecher, was run out of the morphine stock. But Beecher has long studied the pain perception and always wondered that why soldiers wounded to the level of their limbs being amputated can withstand the pain but exclaimed in pain due to the pinprick of the syringe needle. He understood that the pain perception might differ in different conditions. However, being run out of the morphine stock, he injected saline water instead. The wounded soldiers, of course, were not aware of that and respond positively. They feel less pain as equivalent of having real morphine. Now you know the answer, but not the science behind it. We will come into it. In another experiment in studying the placebo effect on pain perception, the participants are provided with a pain-relieving cream, which of course is a placebo with no active ingredient. They provided positive instructions to one group and negative instructions to another group about the quality and the possible expected effect from that cream. Thus, depending upon the positive instruction, a group of optimists develop and another group become pessimists about the upcoming cold pressure shock. The cold pressure task involves placing a hand or forearm in cold water, a stimulus that produces slowly mounting pain of mild to moderate intensity and is terminated by voluntary withdrawal of the limb. The optimist group feels less pain and capable to keep their hand in cold pressure task for longer time before voluntary withdrawal. The pessimist group do otherwise. Their heart rate and blood pressure is monitored in real time during the study. It proves that optimism implanted was related to the effect of a drug, even if it is a placebo. In this wonderful experiment about the pain perception, the participants were deliberately given a pain shock by means of electricity. They are provided, say, 30 units of electric current, displaying it the same in front of them. Participants felt the pain to be worst of its kind, and their real-time brain scan also confirms that. The experimenter made a tweak. To the same participant in the second round, the same 30 units of electricity has been provided, but this time misleading the participant by typing only 20 in the display in front of them. The participants reported less pain this time, even when the current shock given is same. The participants' feeling of pain can be modulated by another cue, this time a visual cue over here. In fact, any cue, verbal or visual, works in the same way, makes us less responsive or more responsive to the pain. We take this experiment one step further. Here, initially, participants are given a mild shock, but this time the display is not showing any units of electricity charged to them, rather it displays the emotions of mild shock or painful shock as felt by the previous participants. If the display shows all the participants reported worst pain, the same painful emotion is felt by the participant. In the second round, the same participant was provided double the electric shock. This time, the display in front of them shows less painful emotions perceived by the previous participants. What do you think? Will double the electric current makes the participant feel less pain? Well, that's what the study shows. It proves our brain is wired to be social. We conform with the others, and the perception of the people around us is twice more influential in reshaping our perception than that we have of ourselves. The experiments prove also that how the peer pressure and the social conformity makes our shapes or feel our feelings. Advertisement use like top selling energy drink for last 10 years is just to make use of this bias so that you conform to what the common masses are into according to their claim. Even our feelings for our pain, physical or mental, from any disease or whatever, is shaped by the people around us. As humans, we spend a major part of our history in the wild. Their survivability while dwelling with the wild animals depends upon conforming with the social groups. Even the probability of the tiger attack is many folds higher for the lone deer than when it stays in the group. Remember our wounded soldier example in start of this lecture, who were provided saline instead of morphine? It explains why the soldiers suffered from serious wound might withstand the pain as they are conforming with the soldier group and felt the pinprick of the syringe needle painful, conforming to the patient group. So pain is relative for the same person in two situations. A lot of physical and mental diseases we are suffering from or has the capability to fighting against depends upon the social group we are conforming into. Let's check the science behind this. This is our brain and this is our spinal cord. For example, you have a pain perception somewhere in your body which is been perceived by the nerve impulse propagated through the nerves over here. So these are the connection between the two neurons, the synapses, and over here the morphine works. This is our opioid receptor. Our morphine works over here to stop the perception of the pain. In fact, our brain has the opioid receptors throughout its surface. The higher density over in this region, the lower density region over here. So morphine binds to these receptors and makes our pain less, just like this. The receptors are something like a lock and the morphine here is the key. When they click and bind to each other, it unlocks the relief sensation from the pain. Now let's see what a group of scientists proved in 1979 in a placebo pain relief experiment on the patients in the dental care center, who all came to extract the wisdom teeth. Group 1 was given a placebo and it activates the belief and the reward system. Body release its natural painkiller endorphin, which binds to the same receptors on the neuron cell surface and gave the patient relief from the pain even when the wisdom tooth is extracted. To prove that endorphins use the same pathway as that of the morphines, the scientists group use a blocker of opioid receptors and gave the second group the same placebo as that of the first, but this time it added a blocker. Even though the placebo released the endorphins, it couldn't able to bind to the opioid receptors and hence the pain sensation persists. This is a scientific proof that our belief system can modulate our biochemical pathway and the molecular and physiological mechanism of our body similar to drug. So how our brain works, why it couldn't able to distinguish between the real and the fake? brain couldn't able to distinguish whether you were actually doing or performing an action or just playing a mental imagery of the same. In both the cases, same brain areas are activated, and modern techniques of the brain study reveals that time and again. Think of a situation. Any situation, might be your fear in public speaking, as you are thinking that you have to give talk tomorrow in front of a huge audience. How you feel in such a case? Some bits of tension, anxiety, how your body feels. That's the way your brain feels too. It plays the mental imagery of the same, be it a good thought or a bad. Even if you visualize something through your mind's eye, like last time you watched a football match or have a fight over a guy next door, say, same areas of the brain, the visual cortex, which you are using when you are visualizing or replaying the football in your mental imagery, are activated, and the same emotion control region of the brain fires while thinking of the argument, which makes your mind agitated. One interesting study on the impact of the brain by just mental imagery of an action has been represented in this study. Volunteers were asked to play a simple sequence of piano notes each day for 5 consecutive days. The brains were scanned each day in the region connected to the finger muscles. Another set of volunteers were asked to make just the mental practice of the brain. This is the actual practice and this is the mental practice of the game in their brain. When the brains are scanned each day, we find that the similar regions of the brain, that the finger flexors and extensor, those who perform the mental practice or those who have done the actual practice, have been activated. It means that what you imagine to be happening is actually happening if your brain is concerned. Now, what will happen if brain starts imagining pain somewhere in your body? Say, over here, when there is no actual pain stimulus out there. Normally, the pain receptors in our body receives the signal which is then sent by the sensory nerves to the spinal cord up to the brain. This is where it gets interpreted. Only because of that interpretation we have the sensation of pain. But in some cases of chronic pain, when a patient feels the pain for months to years, it is often seen that the nerves does not send the signal. It is the change in the brain pain interpretation center, and that makes the person to perceive or sense the pain. Oftentimes this is termed as psychosomatic disorder. It can be pain or breathing problem or can be any sorts of physiological problems whose biological reason cannot be deciphered by the doctors or by the clinical tests. But don't belittle them. It's the real pain or the physiological problem for the person who is suffering from it, with no difference from the actual pain. As whatever may be the type of the pain, it all starts in the brain, and for the patients of the psychosomatic disorder, the patient's brain keeps on misfiring, leading to the health hazard, which is hard to distinguish from non-psychosomatic form. Take the case of its extreme form, the phantom pain. In almost 70 to 80% of the amputees who lost one or more of their limbs feel a pain in the very limb which is not there in the first place. Even they complain about the pain, the cramp in the hand or the leg that is not there. How can it happen? Each part of our body is represented in our brain. Like hand is represented over here, the legs is represented over here, the faces, different parts of the faces, the upper lip, lower lip, etc. The sensory information and the motor information for the activity of those parts like the legs or the hands, etc. are allocated to this region of the brain. Now for the amputees, although the limb is not there, but that brain region is present over here. The sensory action center in the brain of that limb is still present, and so are the free nerve endings. If the limb is amputated from here, the nerves are still present up to here. The free nerve endings are still present. Oftentimes that region of the brain that actually interprets the pain starts to interpret the pain in the hand which is not there, because the brain starts misfiring, leading the patients or giving them the sensation of pain. The problem is you can't massage a cramp or can scratch an itching region in the hand which is not there. But as I am repeating always, the pain is very real as you can feel if you are hurt, because the pain starts and ends in the brain. Indian neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran cured the phantom pain by his famous mirror box therapy. The mechanism by how it works is by making the person look into the mirror image of the intact hand. While they are perceiving the pain in their amputated limb, the caregiver just provides the message to the limb that is present. They provide the physiotherapy or the massage on the actual hand that gives relief to the patients from the phantom pain. This is so simple a technique but so powerful, again by fooling the brain to heal, by using the power of neuroplasticity of our brain, the phenomenon by which our brain continuously remodels or reconstructs itself depending upon the situation or the learning or the stimulus or the information. In this case, the power of neuroplasticity makes the patient to adopt the mirror image of his left hand as his amputated right hand. If you are interested, you can check out V.S. Ramachandran's book on this topic, The Phantoms in the Brain. Do brain only believe and act when it is fooled or deceived? What will happen if I told you that I am providing you with a placebo or a sugar pill, ask you to take it and also tell you that it will heal you? Will you buy the idea? Will you believe in it? Of course not. How on earth a pill of sugar will work even after you know it has no pharmacological compound? The whole idea of the placebo effect that we have seen until now is on making the patient believe in the treatment. But wait, there is something more that adds up with the belief that also aid in your cure. Want to explore this new domain? Here we are coming with the third part of the series, the open label placebo. Hope to see you there. Thank you for listening.